We just getting started, baby. Did anybody see what Mr. Wardell Steph Curry did to the Portland Trailblazers? They were nobodies. They beat the Giants. Trash. They beat the Broncos. Trash. If you ever watched Dragon Ball Z, my man's was Super Saiyan. I couldn't wear this until we actually caught a dub. And he did all of this damage in 36 minutes. Let that sink in. They beat the Eagles, trash. The Cowboys, trash. The Bengals, trash. The Jaguars, trash. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here on Rob's 2 Cents. My good people, my good people. Hello, world. I'd like to welcome you all back to the show that's hot with your boy, Rob Scott. This is Rob's 2 Cents, baby. What's going on, everybody? I can't tell y'all how much I've missed y'all. I've missed my passion. I've missed talking about sports. Hell, I've been working so much, I've even missed out on some things going on with sports. But you know I'm not going to stray away too far because Rob's 2 Cents is my house, baby. This is my baby. And I'm happy to be back with y'all. Y'all know me, man. I've been working hard just to give y'all a little update about what's going on. As you guys know, I just came back from New York, did our biggest show in the company that we do operations on. The Armory show that's out in New York, which is the second largest art show in the U.S., right under Art Basel. That's in Miami. We knocked it out of the park. The Armory show was on the New York Times cover. It just feels good to be, hosting these events right after the pandemic, even though we're slightly still in the pandemic. It just felt good to see people back congregating and having a good time, enjoying the art that was presented by the artists that we had in the show. And we just knocked it out of the park. Definitely proud of me and the team. I'm so happy that they allowed me to be back with the team. Definitely feel like I'm in a position to, advance in my career and to move up in the world, and definitely took some maturing on my end. So I'm glad to see my progress as a man, and just excited about things to come. But you know that I'm not going to leave my baby too far behind because Rob's 2 Cents, which I'm almost going to be coming up on my first year anniversary in November. Definitely excited about that. As you know, last episode, we just recorded episode 50. I'm kind of going to be back now on a full-time basis. So you guys get ready to enjoy the upcoming season of Rob's 2 Cents, baby. We back and we better. Just missed you guys so much. Missed talking about sports. I can't say that enough. And we got to get right into it because you see the hat that I'm wearing, right? Bear down, baby. The Chicago Bears have finally won their first game of the season in week 2, beating the Cincinnati Bengals 20-17. As you guys know, there's been a lot of debate on at least for fans about who they want to start. A lot of fans, quite like myself, wanting to see the kid Justin Fields get a chance. And he got his chance in week 2, unfortunately, at the expense of an injury to Andy Dalton, who got injured, I want to say early in the second quarter, or mid-second quarter. I know he came in for one more play, and then Justin Fields got the start and then definitely started the second half of the game. And the Bears were able to squeak out a victory 20-17. Before I get to talking about Justin Fields, I just have to say the defense stood up. I guess they felt a little embarrassed last week, losing to the Rams, losing badly to the Rams, not able to stop their offensive attack. I have to give credit where credit is due. Matt Stafford is looking good with the Rams, got them to a 2-0 start. Going to be playing the Buccaneers next week, so that's going to be something I'm definitely keeping my eyes on. So the Rams is definitely not a bad team to lose to. But the Bears refuse to lose to Cincinnati. They're still going through their trials and tribulations with their young quarterback in Joe Burrow, who, remember, this is technically kind of like his rookie season because he injured he tore his ACL last season. Wasn't able to complete the first season of his career, of his young NFL career. So he's coming back now. He has something to prove. And he didn't look that bad. Well, I'm not gonna say he didn't look that bad. The man did throw 3 interceptions in a row. I mean, not in the game. I'm talking about back to back to back interceptions. However, he was able to score 2 touchdowns after throwing those interceptions, and that was a great way to show poise, throwing those 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, giving the Bengals a chance to try to creep back into that game. But the Bears were able to hold on to their victory. Let's talk about a little stats before we get into exactly what I want to break down in the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Chicago Bears game. As I mentioned, Joe Burrow was 19-30. He's 207 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns, throwing 3 interceptions back to back to back. I mean, the Bears just looked like they were on a tear, going after Joe Burrow. They didn't have much in the running game with Joe Mixon going for 20 carries and having 69 yards. Only 2 of their receivers scored touchdowns, in T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. So the Bears were able to subdue the Cincinnati Bengals, only allowing them to score those 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And, of course, they opted to kick a field goal in the third. But we look on the Bears side of the ball. Before Andy Dalton went out, he did throw a touchdown to Mooney. And he was 9 of 11, only threw 56 yards in the air, and he had that 1 touchdown. Justin Fields didn't do much better as he was 6 of 13 for 60 yards and throwing no touchdowns and also throwing an interception. But as I mentioned before, and I'm sorry, Allen Robinson caught that touchdown for Andy Dalton, not Mooney. But Mooney had a great game, getting 6 receptions for 66 yards. So the Bears, still having their struggles offensively. Didn't get much out of the run game as David Montgomery had 20 carries for 61 yards on the ground. And Justin Fields also had 10 carries for 31 yards on the ground. So the Bears need to definitely work on that running game. But I cannot blame David Montgomery. That all starts with the coaching and the offensive line. Our offensive line is so trash. It is horrible. I mean, we really technically haven't had a good offensive line probably since the days of Rex Grossman. Remember, Jay Cutler got hit so much. They injured Nick Foles last year. The offensive line is just horrible. And and I think that's why everybody's interested to see what Justin Fields can do, because we are talking about a mobile quarterback here. And some of the passes he threw were not all bad. I mean, he practically hit Allen Robinson in the hand, and Allen Robinson is a great receiver. So for him to drop that pass, which would have resulted in a touchdown for Justin Fields, I mean, he threw that ball. You couldn't have thrown the ball more perfectly. It literally went through his body. I mean, it's like, come on, dude. You gotta bring that. You gotta bring that in. You gotta put your foot on the necks of your opponents. You cannot give them any glimpse of hope, thinking that they have an opportunity to win that game. The Bears jumped out to an early start, scoring a touchdown, holding the Cincinnati Bengals scoreless through the first 2 quarters, and then still only holding them to a field goal. And the Bears got out to a 20-3 lead and allowed Cincinnati to score those 2 final touchdowns to give themselves a chance, to give themselves an opportunity to win the game. Luckily, the Bears were able to hold out. Defense stood strong, getting 4 sacks on the end of the day. My boy Raquan Smith getting a pick 6. The big linebacker rumbling and tumbling his way to the end zone, which was our only other score besides the pass to Allen Robinson from Andy Dalton. But Justin Fields looked promising. Justin Fields looked promising. I'm definitely interested to see what this guy can do. We got to remember, Justin Fields is a freak of nature. If we look at Justin Fields in his early years, remember, he led the Ohio State Buckeyes to 2 undefeated regular seasons. They were able to win the Big Ten championship in 2019. He led them all the way to the National Football Championship, where they lost to Alabama. But remember, right before that, they were able to beat Clemson in a rematch from 2019 in order to get to the championship game, which was one of the best games of Justin Fields' career in college. I mean, even Sports Illustrated called him a warrior, called that performance legendary. Remember, he got hit, he was injured, and he still fought his way through that game where the Buckeyes were able to defeat Clemson 49-28. So we got to remember, Justin Fields has proven that he can win on the biggest of stages, and I believe that he is going to be exactly what the doctor ordered for the Chicago Bears, especially with their offensive line being so horrible. We definitely need a quarterback that can make plays. Now, I'm not going to jump out the gym and say, man, this guy is going to have the same impact that a Lamar Jackson has had on his team. This guy's going to have the same impact that a Josh Allen has had on his team. We're talking about quarterbacks that are able to move, quarterbacks that are mobile, quarterbacks like Pat Mahomes. I don't see that in Justin's future right now, but the future is definitely promising for this kid. I definitely want to see the Bears build around him, make this offense his. He's a mobile quarterback. Run sets for him in which he can use his mobility, in which he can use his God-given gift of being able to run with the ball. Matt Nagy right now is on a very short leash. He has not proven himself as one of the good coaches in the NFL. I mean, Matt Nagy has made some questionable decisions. I mean, he still decided to go with Andy Dalton even when all of the red flags were screaming, start Justin Fields. Remember, Andy Dalton got 9 starts with the Dallas Cowboys last year after Dak Prescott injured, broke his ankle in week 5? Andy Dalton got the start. And they were 4-5 under the start with Andy Dalton. Those Cowboys could not even make it to the playoffs and playing in one of the weakest divisions in the NFL, which is the NFC East. I'm talking about a division that houses the Washington football team, a division that houses the New York Giants, a division that houses the Philadelphia Eagles. The Cowboys wasn't even able to make it to the playoffs. The Washington football team did. So I did not have faith in Andy Dalton. He had 14 touchdowns last year, threw 8 interceptions. Let the kid show what he can do. Justin Fields has shown he's a winner. Now, even in the preseason, if we look at Justin Fields, in the preseason, he was 30 of 49. He threw 276 yards in the air. He had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, had 11 carries for 92 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. Let the kid play. I've been looking on Facebook, looking at various tweets, and he has just brought a fresh air to the Chicago Bears and the fans of the Chicago Bears. They want to see the kid play. Let him prove himself. Let him prove that he can play on the biggest stage, which is known as the National Football League. Now, the Bears had this promising win, and I want to see what they can do moving forward. I believe Justin Fields should get the start, whether Andy Dalton is healthy enough to play next week. We should continue to stick with Justin Fields. Let him get his reps in. Playing preseason football is a lot different from playing regular season football. And I want to give the kid a chance to either, sink or swim. Justin Fields, to me, can get the Bears into the playoffs, with the Bears being the first team in the NFC North to win a game. And I have to transition to a winner, speaking about winning. I have to transition to the GOAT. I have to transition to Tom Brady, who right now is on a historic pace. Remember, we're only 2 games into the regular season of the NFL, and Tom Brady has already thrown 9 touchdowns. I repeat, only 2 games into the regular season, and Tom Brady has already thrown 9 touchdowns. Only 2 interceptions. Those 2 interceptions coming again in week 1 against the Cowboys, a game in which it was a very competitive game. And Tom Brady still threw for 4 touchdowns in that game, only 2 interceptions, and was able to pull out the victory. This week, going against the Falcons. Now, mind you, Atlanta is a team that no one fears. Atlanta has not been the same since they lost that comeback victory to the New England Patriots, to Tom Brady and his then New England Patriots in that Super Bowl, in which Tom Brady put on a masterpiece of a show. They have not been the same. That defense needs to find itself. Matt Ryan, inconsistent at best. But it's games like this in which you can lose, because you don't want to come into the game overlooking the Falcons, thinking about I have the Rams in week 3, and then I go back home to play against the Patriots in week 4, which I want to add, if Tom Brady is able to beat the Patriots, he will now have a victory over all 32 of the National Football League teams. I repeat, he will have a victory over each and every last team that is a part of the NFL. We look at what the Buccaneers did to the Falcons. They were able to defeat the Falcons 48-25. We look at what the Falcons did on that side of the ball. Matt Ryan had an okay day. He was 35 for 46, threw for 300 yards in the air. He also had 2 touchdowns, but threw 3 interceptions, including 2 pick sixes. We look at Mike Davis, the running back for the Atlanta Falcons, didn't do much. He had 9 carries for 38 yards with 0 touchdowns. And then Cordero Patterson had 7 carries for only 11 yards, but he had 1 touchdown. But Cordero Patterson also did it in the air, where he caught 5 passes for 58 yards and 1 touchdown. And Calvin Ridley also had 7 receptions for 63 yards and 1 touchdown. So the Falcons tried to put on their A game. They even made it a competitive game, as they were down like, what was that, 35, I don't know, I want to say 21-10 in the second. And then the Falcons were able to score 15 points in the third. But the Buccaneers held them scoreless in the fourth quarter, and they put 20 points on them in the fourth quarter. We look at what the Buccaneers did. Tom Brady was 24-36 for 276 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. He threw 2 touchdowns to Gronkowski. He threw 2 touchdowns to Mike Evans, and then followed it up with 1 last touchdown just to take the life out of the Falcons in the fourth to my boy Chris Godwin. Shout out to Rob Gronkowski, because I know what Tom Brady is doing is amazing, but I also gotta give love to the Gronk, to probably the GOAT as far as tight ends go. Because Gronkowski, remember, he was sitting on his couch. He had retired from the game of football. And when Tom Brady made that move to the Buccaneers and he got that call from Tom letting him know what his plans were, Gronkowski got off of his couch, came to the Buccaneers, didn't have the greatest of regular seasons, but showed up in the playoffs and definitely showed up in the Super Bowl, where he caught 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. And now he looks like he's in good shape. He comes back for this 2021-2022 season and already is on the catches 2 touchdowns this game. Gronkowski is showing a lot of guts, just will. I mean, the guy was retired. And to have him come back out of retirement and still able to perform at a high level, shout out to Rob Gronkowski. But we can't forget about what Tom Brady is doing. Tom Brady is 44 years old. Tom Brady is playing in his 20th NFL season. You have to remember, regardless if he's coming off a Super Bowl year, regardless if he's considered the GOAT of the National Football League, Tom Brady is still 44 years old. And to do what he's doing at 44 is amazing. He just turned 44 August 3rd. Got to show love to another Leo because I am a Leo myself. And we look at Tom Brady on the all-time touchdown list. He's currently at 590 touchdowns in his career from 2000 to 2021. The man has thrown 590 touchdowns. The next active player on this list is Aaron Rodgers, who currently sits at number 7, who's only thrown 412 touchdowns in his career. Tom Brady is amazing. I always tell people, and they laugh when I say this, but there's a simple math equation that you need to follow that will tell you about how great this man is. TB equal TDs. I've been screaming that all on my show. Now, right now, they have it favored that the Buccaneers could possibly go 20-0. Can you see the Buccaneers winning it all? Going 20-0, winning the Super Bowl. Remember, there's 17 games now in the regular season, which means he would have to go undefeated in the regular season and then win those 3 games, including the Super Bowl and the playoffs. He has the team to do it. Tom Brady has nothing but weapons around him. You have Chris Godwin. You have Rob Gronkowski. You have Mike Evans. You have Antonio Brown. You got Leonard Fournette as your running back. You got a defense that made a statement against the Atlanta Falcons. 2 pick sixes. Pressuring Matt Ryan all day. They didn't look up to par in the first half. But in that second half, man, let me tell y'all, they ramped it up. Held them scoreless in the fourth quarter as they proceeded to score 20 points. And that's what somebody like Tom Brady does for you. He revitalizes your defense. Right now, Tom Brady is the undeniable GOAT of the Professional Football League, of the National Football League. Tom Brady, man, continues to awe us all. And then he has a show with Rob Gronkowski called Tom and Rob, or Tom and Gronk. And he said he can do this until he's 50. And at the rate he's going, looking like he's going to have another back-to-back 40 touchdown season. Remember, he threw for 40 touchdowns last season. Look like he's on pace to do it again. I believe him. He say he can go to 50. And if he wins another Super Bowl this year, he proves without a doubt that the Patriots did not win because it was the Belichick way. They won because it was the Tom Brady way. Tom Brady continues to wow us all as he continues to have masterpieces of games. I am happy and honored to watch this man play. And I hope that the upcoming quarterbacks are looking at how winning gets done, because Tom Brady is a winner. Last but not least, one game I want to touch on was our Sunday night game, prime time, as we saw the Kansas City Chiefs go against the Baltimore Ravens. And let me tell you guys something. Game of the season might be an understatement. This was a game because as we know, the first four times, or the first three times, or four, Lamar Jackson has went head to head against Pat Mahomes. He's lost. Lamar Jackson has referred to Pat Mahomes as his kryptonite. Remember, they're both former league MVPs. And Lamar Jackson came out and put on a show yesterday. Remember, Lamar Jackson is without two of his running backs. Justice Hill, who suffered a lower leg injury during practice in the preseason, said he tore his Achilles tendon. Then they also don't have J.K. Dobbins, who's out for the season with a torn ACL, who got that on the preseason finale. So now a team that's built on rushing the football are without their starting two running backs. And Lamar Jackson said, no running backs, no problem. Because Lamar Jackson will go out there and put on a show. Let's talk about what the Chiefs did first. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs are fresh off a Super Bowl loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are favored to make it back to the Super Bowl. They had won their first game of the season. Pat Mahomes still on a tear. Had 24. He threw for 24. He was 24-31, excuse me. Threw for 343 yards in the air. Had 3 touchdowns and only 1 interception. And that 1 interception was just Pat Mahomes trying to be Pat Mahomes. As we know, he's a playmaker. He was able to scramble out of the pocket. And as he was going down, he made an ill-advised throw, which was intercepted. But, I don't think that cost him the game. The one that did cost him the game was by Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who they rushed the ball in the fourth quarter, and he fumbled the ball. Opening the door for the Baltimore Ravens to run out the clock. Travis Kelce did his thing as he had 7 receptions, caught the ball for 109 yards, and also had 1 touchdown. Tyreek Hill, still an APB out on Tyreek Hill, because Tyreek Hill was nowhere to be found, as he only had 3 receptions for 14 yards. What happened to Tyreek Hill? And if the Kansas City Chiefs want to make any noise this year, considering the fact that their defense is not the best in the world, considering the fact that you don't have a consistent run game, Tyreek Hill is going to have to do more for this ball club. He's the best receiver on the field for him, and you cannot rely on Travis Kelce to put all of that on his shoulders and shoulder the load of being the best receiver on this team. He's going to need his partner in crime in Tyreek Hill to step up. But if we look at the Baltimore Ravens side of the ball, Lamar Jackson did it all. He was 18-26 and threw for 239 yards in the air, had 1 touchdown and 2 bad interceptions that was caught by Honey Badger of the Kansas City Chiefs. One of them was a pick 6. But then Lamar Jackson will put on a show as he will do what he does best, and that's run with the football. He has 16 carries for 107 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns, making his touchdown total 3 on the day. Lamar Jackson proved that he is a star among stars. He proved that MVP was warranted, that he earned it, that he was worthy of being the MVP of the league, even throwing a nice pass to Hollywood Brown, as he also had 6 receptions for 113 yards in the air and 1 touchdown. Let me tell y'all something. Lamar Jackson showed up. The Baltimore Ravens were able to defeat the Kansas City Chiefs 36-35. Remember, Edwards-Helaire fumbled the ball in the fourth quarter. The Baltimore Ravens were then facing a 4th down. And nobody wants to give the ball back to Magic Mahomes. That's my new name for him. Because Pat Mahomes is magic. Nobody wanted the ball to go back to Magic Mahomes. And I have to give a shout out to the Baltimore Ravens coach. Because Coach looked at Lamar Jackson and said, do you want to go for it on fourth down? Coach Harbaugh looked at Lamar Jackson and said, do you want to go for it on fourth down? Lamar Jackson said, oh, hell yeah. And he not only kept the ball himself, he got the first down. The Kansas City Chiefs were out of timeouts, and that iced the game for the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson, I can't say enough of what he did. 18 to 26, 239 yards in the air, 1 touchdown, but he did have 2 interceptions, but was able to follow up that magic with 16 carries on the ground, ran for 107 yards, and gave you 2 rushing touchdowns. Now, I know what Tom Brady did right before that game came on was magical. Throwing for 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, but that was against the Atlanta Falcons. Lamar Jackson did this against the Kansas City Chiefs. We're talking about a team that's been to the Super Bowl the last 2 years. A team that has won the AFC West the last 2 years. Lamar Jackson was able to go up against his kryptonite and give you 107 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns, including 1 in the air. Lamar Jackson, former MVP. That boy cold. And he was able to fight his demons and win. Finally get the W against the Kansas City Chiefs. And that boy, I am so looking forward to see what the Ravens can be like if you actually put some weapons around Lamar Jackson. Couple quick hitters before we get up out of here. The NBA preseason is going to be starting October 3rd, kicking it off right out the gate with the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Brooklyn Nets. Now, people, calm down. We will be lucky enough if we get to see both big threes on the court during that game. Meaning if we see LeBron, Russell, and AD versus KD, Kyrie, and the bearded one, James Harden. We will be lucky if we see those 3 guys on the court during that game. I highly doubt it, especially with Kevin Durant coming off a Team USA gold medal, and Kyrie and James Harden both coming off injuries. Anthony Davis coming off an injury. LeBron needing to get his rest as he is now going to be entering in his 20th season. I doubt we see all 3 of them on the court, all 6 of them on the court. But one can hope. But I am interested to see the others go against each other to see if LaMarcus Aldridge is able to come back a little healthier after having that retirement scare, to see how Paul Millsap is going to fit in this rotation, Patty Mills, to see how Melo and Trevor Ariza and Kendrick Nunn and Taylor Horton. I'm just interested to see how these others are going to line up against each other, because it's going to be the others that win you the game. Stars get you to the promised land, but it takes a total team effort to win a championship. Definitely can't wait to see that. That's definitely on the radar. Also, October 9th, we will finally get to see Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder trilogy as they go into their 3rd fight to decide on who's going to be the WBC heavyweight champion, with Tyson Fury currently being your heavyweight champion of the world. Now, if the fight is anything like Fight 2, Deontay Wilder is going to be in for a long night, so I'm just hoping that he has went and he has trained properly to be able to box with Tyson Fury, because he's proven you ain't going to knock the man out. You're going to have to kill him. Now, there's been a little talk about if his gloves has been rigged. So I know there's going to be something to keep our eyes on. I know something that the Nevada Boxing Commission and the referees are also going to be keeping their eyes on, because it's not the first time Tyson Fury has been accused of tampering with his gloves. So we're going to be talking about that fight soon. And then also I want to give a shout out to Manny Pacquiao, as he has accepted his candidacy to run for president of the Philippines. As he has mentioned, there's been a lot of corruption over there in the Philippines, something that I can't speak on because I don't know personally, but I do, know Manny Pacquiao through his boxing career, and I know he's an honorable man. I know how much he loves his country, and what he does for his country, and the things that he currently do for his country. So, I wish him nothing but the best of luck, and it'll be a great story to see one of the greatest fighters to ever lace up a pair of gloves, be president for his homeland, and hopefully run things the right way. And that's my show, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you guys for sticking around with your boy. I appreciate all the love and support. People asking, when is the show coming back? Also want to give a shout out to Brother Jerry Rouse. As I've told you guys before, he has his own Roku channel, the Rewind Sports 60 sports channel. He has shows like the Bill Cartwright Show. My boy, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, Michelangelo. He has one a show on there that's a great sports show, sports on from the couch or something like that. So it's Mercado. That's his name. That's my boy Mercado. So yeah. And also shout out to you, my boy, on your upcoming wedding as well. But Brother Jerry Wiles, man, he has changed my life. As far as giving me a chance to have my show out here on a sports platform. So I support him whether my show is on his network or not. But he actually texted me and said, just let him know when I'm ready. And I appreciate him for keeping me in mind. And I appreciate him for not letting me slow up on my dream of being one of the top sports analysts to ever do it. So I appreciate him and got nothing but love for Brother Jerry Rouse. And you guys make sure you guys are supporting the Rewind Sports 60 Roku channel. All you have to do is stream it, baby. It's free to stream, baby. Free to stream. Support him, support me, and support all your local Chicago people that's out here trying to make it, baby. And this was episode 51. We can't rest on our laurels. We got to keep going. Because keeping it going is the only way to keep up with this world. That steady go round and round, baby. I appreciate you guys for tuning in into the hottest sports conversation in the nation. Make sure you tune in next week. We're gonna talk about, we got to keep our eyes on Green Bay as they play the Detroit Lions tonight. Definitely might be talking about that next week. Also, I'm going to hopefully get back into the rotation of recording 2 shows a week. So, yeah, we back, baby. We back. We stronger and better than ever, baby. I appreciate you guys for your continuous support. I love you guys. Remember to always grind, man. Do what you love, man, and don't let nobody stop you from doing what you love to do. This has been your boy, Raj Scott, man. And I hope y'all continue to be great. And you already know the slogan, baby. We gone! There's a bigger fight going on. There's a much bigger agenda than the streets. And I know sometimes it's hard to see that far in front of us. But we have to look past the illusions. Look past the delusions of grandeur. And look at the bigger picture. We need to become better versions of ourselves each and every day. Fight for what you believe in. Because if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. We just getting started, baby. You guys know the slogan now. Hope you all have a great evening. And we go.